Good morning, this is Jack from theartofchart.net, and this is a pre-market recording for the morning of Thursday, the 27th of May. Our disclaimer, we do this for educational purposes only. We're here to share our technical analysis with you. We hope you can take some of what we're doing and learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. We're not here to issue trading signals. Right, we went a long way about it, but we eventually delivered the lower low that I was thinking we would be doing if we would be forming a flag. And it's not a great pattern, but this is a decent-ish falling wedge that can be reasonably interpreted as a bull flag. We are breaking up from that at the moment. This wasn't a bad trend line here, not quite three trend lines, three touches, more or less. It was a slightly sloppy wedge, but it's not a bad bull flag. It's breaking up, and chances are we are heading back to a retest of this high here, which is at 42.1250. So I'm expecting to see that next. So the question is, what happens after that? Well, let's have a look at the charts. Now, we didn't get any positive divergence on ES because this didn't reach the 70 level. Otherwise, we would have a weak 60-minute buy signal. Chances are we are breaking up for a flag, and we're going to at least see a retest of 42.12. On NQ, NQ looks like a triangle forming, being a bit weaker over the last day than the others, but chances are this is going to deliver a retest of the high too. RTY, well, RTY's taken off on its own again, hasn't it? And I drew in this wedge last night, and we've just hit wedge resistance again. Question is it going to hold? So it might do, in which case we're going to see a reversal right here. So if it doesn't, we will see. We do have a possible 60-minute sell signal brewing there. YM. YM was looking for, well, we had a head and shoulders here, it broke down, and it's rejected back up into the high, and it's pretty much made that target. Not quite, but I'm expecting it to make that target shortly. DAX and the STX are both on 60-minute buy signals, having done lower lows. So really, the overall picture is one of flags breaking up. And I think that's probably because they are flags breaking up. And we're going to see a retest of this high here at 42.12. What then? Well, we've still got this pattern. And we never quite reached the resistance trend line. So the resistance trend line, if this pattern is right, the resistance trend line is now a target. Now that's interesting because, of course, the resistance trend line is, well, the all-time high is at 42.38 odd, and the resistance trend line is now just under that. We could go and make a new all-time high within this pattern, and then we could potentially find resistance at this trend line, because really it's not a bad pattern. So going to be watching for that, and we will see how that goes. But this has been choppy action the last couple of days. It'd be nice to have something slightly clearer. Really, there wasn't anything really much particularly clear about yesterday. So we'll see how that goes. All right, okay, let's have a look at, well, there's nothing really to see on the RTH charts, so we may as well roll straight on. But I think, although I have got some interesting charts to show you at the end, we've just been adding, well, I'll do the other instruments first. Let's have a look at those at the end. DX. DX, we've got a potential double bottom here, and I've got a resistance trend line in the 90.2 area. Did we hit it? Hang on. Let's see. Let's have a look. Just pulling up a new window. Let's have a look at my DX trend lines. Alrighty then. Let's have a look at USD. And let's have a look at DX. Now, a couple of rolls coming up, by the way. We're having gold is about to roll, I think. ZB is rolling. So I'm going to be rolling those at the weekend. Of course, we've got all new monthly pivots because there's a bank holiday on Monday. On DX, have we reached the resistance trend line? Not quite. I've got that up in the 92 area, so we've got to be pretty close to it. So may have hit overnight. It's only an EOD chart. Could go a little higher. But we've got obvious resistance there. If we break up through that, then this could be a potential double bottom here. And we will see how that goes. So watching to see whether that makes target. ZB, we had a sell signal fixed overnight, and that's made target. Now, the thing to say here is, of course, we've no longer got a flag. So I don't know where this is going. It had a little head and shoulders. That's pretty much made target. Sell signals made target. So watching to see what happens here. This could be the start of another leg down. Not seeing an awful lot to suggest it is so far. We could form a larger pattern, but if so, we haven't formed it yet. CL, still leaning towards seeing a retest of the high. This looks like flag forming. That should deliver a retest of this high, and then I'll be looking for a retest of this one. So we'll see how that goes. NG has got up to the weekly pivot, and a possible inverted head and shoulders is forming. Now, if that's the case, then we'll find a low ideally in about the 2.97 area, and we'll move up from there, and we'll head up to the retest of this high here in the 3.2 area. GC, not much sign of weakness, but actually unusually the best patterns are on SI at the moment. So let's have a look at that. SI, we've now got a really good support trend line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm slightly concerned about the number of times this is being tested when we haven't even got a clear resistance trend line. So if this breaks down, this could be a sign that this move up on metals is over and the retracement we're expecting soon has started. While it lasts, then I'm leaning towards seeing a retest of this high. HG, back up at the weekly pivot. This is looking pretty good as a flag, but it's really not a bad head and shoulders either. This needs to break and convert the weekly pivot to weaken the head and shoulders scenario, which would be basically we break down from here and head down to, well, here, a long way down. So we will see how that goes. But if we break and convert the weekly pivot, then we've got resistance up in the 4.65 area, a break over that, and we should be heading back to a retest of this high. USD. USD, we saw the retest of the high. We've been seeing a retracement, waiting to see what does delivered next. We've got a 60-minute buy signal has fixed. GBP USD. Looks like a flag, probably is a flag. Don't have any positive divergence, but it looks like it's heading back towards the high. USD JPY, still a nice looking potential level top, but not obviously really doing anything. No current negative divergence, although it's thinking about developing some overnight. USD CAD, still at a major support level, which is still something I'm watching. No obvious bottom pattern here. Could get a better one if we retested this low. We will see. Australian dollar. This looks like a triangle that's breaking up, but really it's more of an impression of a triangle. We don't have any three-touch triangle trend lines really, so it could be still forming this resistance trend line. So watching that with interest. NZUSD has headed back up and already done the retest of this high. No current negative divergence. KC. KC has retested the high as expected. Possible second high of a double top here, and we do have a 60-minute sell signal fixed. And if we didn't already have one, we would have a possible 60-minute sell signal brewing. There is a possibility we get a sizable retracement across quite a few commodities soon. I am watching this as a potential double top. SB looks like it is bottoming out. Possible IHS forming, although it's a bit sloppy. But I'm thinking this is probably going to break up and have a try at retesting this high here in the 1825 area. CC. CC, still a nice looking falling channel. Looks like it's heading back towards channel resistance in the 2450 area. ZW, still a nice looking falling wedge. Slight underthrow at the bottom there, so this may actually be done. So I'm watching trendline resistance, which I've got in about the 665 area. Corn, we've got a head and shoulders, pretty clear one, which has broken down. And if it sustains the break, we could see a move down into the 436 area. The alternative is that it rejects back up into the high, and we'll know it's done that when this head and shoulder fails on a move over 675. So it's in the inflection point, waiting to see which way it goes. Soy. Might be switching over to save charts here, so let's have a look at, let's switch over to those. Let's do cotton quickly. Cotton, possible bottoming action, nothing particularly certain. Soy might be breaking up for a flag here. Wasn't sure about the lower trend line though, so it could be that the pattern is still forming. We've also got down to a possible head and shoulder neckline. We could see a right shoulder bounce into ideally about the 1575 area. Lumber. Wondering about a retest of the high. I don't think Stan's expecting one, and we wouldn't be getting negative divergence now because the retracement was too deep. Let's have a look at live cattle. Yeah, I want to talk about OJ. Let's talk about live cattle. This kind of looks like a flag. It's a bit oversized. Wondering about a retest of this low. And lean hogs, possible 60-minute sell signal brewing, and waiting to see what develops there. So let's have a look at. Hang on, let's have a look at OJ first. Now, George, what instruments do you use to trade OJ? because I was looking around for a decent ETN and I couldn't find one, which was what I was planning to do the long-term charts on. Are there any decent ETFs or ETNs on OJ? If so, what are their tickers? Putting you on the spot. Don't feel you have to answer at once, but that's the thing I was wondering when I was looking at them. Some German turbos. Not sounding particularly chartable. I mean, I can chart. I'm pretty sure I can just chart the future directly, but that's not going to give me the long-term charts. I have to say, it's the long-term charts, looking at this chart here, that I'm finding particularly compelling. Yeah, okay, got it. Because the long-term charts are, hang on, are showing me some very nice, interesting action here. Low, possible bottoming setup, and I have to say this is one instrument that hasn't benefited from the general uplift in commodities so far. There's a decent indication that it might do. Okay, well I can see what I can do with this this chart here. I can add tools to it. I've already got RSI on it. Let's have a look at the RSIs in the short term, and then I've got a couple of other things to show you as well, because I was doing some new charts yesterday and actually they were really interesting. Okay, looking at this, we've got a week 60-minute buy signal fixed on the weekly chart. Just have a look at the daily. Daily, no current divergence. Nothing particularly clear in terms of bottoming patterns here. So wait a second. I can chart it on here, and I can do halfway decent charts on here, but it'd be better to have some sort of instrument to trade. I was thinking there'd be a big ETF, but there isn't. We got possible bottoming action here. We got a weekly buy signal fixed. I am wondering about a possible retest of the low to set up a better bottoming setup. And let's have a look at the. Right, okay, that doesn't really give me a decent 60-minute chart, I don't think. It's all right. I'll experiment with this and see. Yeah, it may well do because of weather. And I have to say, it's a nice weekly buy signal, and it's not really benefited from the uplift in commodities so far. So I have to say, it's looking pretty interesting. So I need a decent instrument to chart the long term on. Usually, you've got a decent ETN, but you don't have one here. Now, I want to show you something interesting. And this is something I was just doing. We're expanding the Big Five and Sector Service, and these were the charts I was doing last night. And there's some really, really interesting charts here. Anyway, we added 5 ETFs, and they are XLI, XLP, XLV, XLY, and XME. Let's have a look at these. XLI wasn't that interesting. XLP, that was pretty interesting. It's but let's have a look at, let's drill down here. Nice looking wedge overthrowing. I have daily sell signal here. Gotta say, this looks like an instant short pretty much. Might see a retest of this high to set up a double top. But this is a chart which really looks as though it's turning. It's not alone. Let's have a look at, hang on. That's XLV. XLY. Isn't that beautiful? Damn, that's nice. That is a simply gorgeous rising wedge. Now, it hasn't broken down yet, but I'm certainly wondering. It's that is a really, really nice chart. On the weekly chart, we've got a possible weak RSI 14 sell signal brewing. It's nice. And XME. XME, this is also an interesting one, but really on the other side, because here, we've got strong weekly sell signals brewing. We've seen a hell of a move up here, and of course this is metals and mining. Copper's been running away. This is suggesting we might actually see a decent retracement on it soon. Looking at the chart, this isn't a bad pattern here. We're hitting resistance. We've got a potential double top here. This again is something that could turn. We could see a decent retracement on metals here, and that was something I was wondering about. But anyway, I just wanted to show you that because I was just doing. I did all the charts for it yesterday because we're adding it to the Big Five and Sector Service, and some of these is pretty interesting. There's some nice charts here. It's I have to say the XLV. XLP and XLV charts for the start of the show. No, just adding. We just added sectors for the moment, but I mean, I think if you talk to Stan, I think we might be interested in adding stocks as well. I mean, the reality is anything which people are interested in and which has tradable options. decent tradable options with decent volume, so you don't become the market if you go into them. That is interesting, and that's why the sectors are interesting. But we've had a lot of interest in the sectors, so we added more. We can add more stocks too. It's easy enough. It takes a while to set up the charts, but maintaining them afterwards is pretty straightforward. Doesn't take that long to maintain them afterwards. All right, okay. The morning has started. The bull flag is broken up. We're likely to see a retest of 42.12. Oh yeah, we have. It's just Stan's been working on his house, and as a result, when there's an interesting trade around, there haven't been that many interesting trades. There's been some. Then he's had. I think they've. I mean, Houston's got rotten weather, and I think he had some damage, and his internet was down for a day, and I think he's been doing some repairs, and as a result, he just hasn't been around that much. Which is a shame because I had a lovely buy set up in the last time we were at 41.40 or 41.45 when we were back testing the weekly pivot at the time. That was just gorgeous, but I couldn't raise him. It's so unfortunately, I think hopefully his set of repairs is coming to an end and he's going to be around more. But that's been the reason there hasn't been much activity on Rithmic lately. It's just been hard to get a hold of him. He's been distracted at home, so that should be changing. I mean, to be honest, I would have liked to get a long on 42, 41, 45. I will not lie. It's it's sometimes the opportunity just passes. The next one hopefully won't. And we should be seeing that Rithmic trade is going to make money. So if we're heading up now, we're going to be looking for the next place to add. Although it's not going to be at 42.12. It's what happens while you're making other plans. But it's not going to be at 42.12. I'm expecting to see a retest of the all-time high soon, and we could be starting that run now. Could well. I think looking at the charts, we may actually just fail very shortly afterwards. Into a larger retracement. In which case, I'd really like to have an add-on to the Rithmic position then. But with any luck, we will get that on. All right, cheers, guys. Pleasure as always. I will catch you later.